In this activity, you're going to determine if the situation should be represented by an exponential function or a linear function. Then you're going to write the model and state whether it's increasing or decreasing. So the first one says enrollment at a school is initially 454 students and grows by 3% per year. So here, because we are growing by 3% per year, that is a rate, and it is going to be exponential because it's a percentage. So our R is 3% or 0.03. Because R is 0.03 and it's growing, our B value is going to be 1 plus that, or 1.03. Our initial value is the 454 students. So our A value is going to be 454. So this one is exponential growth. And my equation is y equals 454 times 1 300 raised to the x. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So the salesperson initially earns $50,434 per year and receives a yearly raise of $675. So because the raise is a certain amount and not a percentage, this is going to be a linear growth example. All right, you're initially earning this, so that is going to be your B value. And then the raise of $675 per year, so this is going to be your M. So then my total Y, which is my amount I earn, is going to be 675 times the number of years plus my initial rate of 50,434. All right, so you're going to go ahead and do that for the remaining problems, identifying if it should be linear versus exponential, growth versus decay, really paying attention to the rate and how the rates are changing, if it's percentages for exponential versus a constant value for linear. All right, the next thing that you're going to do when you're finished with that is you're going to be comparing linear and exponential situations to determine when one will be more or less than the other. So this will be doing systems of equations with one linear and one exponential function. So companies A and B each have 100 employees. All right, so that's what we have right now. Company A is increasing by 31 employees each month. All right, so that's for company A. And company B is increasing by an average of 10% each month. All right, so when will company B have more than company A? So the first thing we have to do is we have to write our equations. All right, so for company A, my initial value is the 100. All right, so A is 100. And then 31 each month. So this one, because it's 31 each month, it's a certain number. This is my linear. So this is my B value for company A, and my rate is 31. So my equation for Y of A, I'm going to label it that way so I know this is for company A, is 31 times X plus 100. All right, and then for company B, I'm going by a rate. So here I will have my A and B. So again, my A is the same. They're both starting at 100. My rate is 10% or 0.1. So my B value is 1.1 because it's increasing. So my equation, Y sub B, is going to be 100 times 1 1/10 to the X. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my graphing calculator. Okay. I'm going to go to my y equals function here. I want to make sure I don't have anything listed in my grid. All right, and I'm going to put my equations in. So for the first one, 31x plus 100. So I'll just type that in, right? So 31. For my variable, I always use this one next to the alpha button, plus 100, and then I hit enter. And then when you look at your equation, that bar will be darkened. Now I'm going to put in my equation for my exponential function, and I'm going to type it in just the way I see it. So 100, and then parentheses, 1 and 1/10, close parentheses. Now, in order to put the x in the exponent, I'm going to use what's called the caret button, which looks like an upside down V. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the value, the cursor, from the standard line and put it in the exponent. So see how like now my cursor is blinking in the exponent. And then I'm going to put my x in there again using the x next to the alpha button and hit enter. So now I have my two functions, all right? And I want to know when company B is going to have more than company A. So I'm going to use my table. You can also use your graph. So I'm going to, for the table, I want the blue, so I hit the second button and then the graph button, and it shows me a table. And it, let me make it a little bit easier to see. There we go. So you see, they start out both at 100, right? And at first, right, company A has more employees than company B because it's increasing at a higher rate at the beginning. Eventually, though, company B will end up surpassing company A because you'll be taking a percentage of a number that's bigger, so you'll end up adding more. And we have to figure out when is that going to happen. So that does not happen for quite some time. Does not happen for 22 months. Okay, so after 22 months, you can see that the value for company B is higher. So our answer is after 22 months, company B will have more employees than company A. You can also use your graph. So if I go to graph the two functions, okay, now it's graphing. I can tell it's still graphing because the little wheel is spinning in the top right. Okay, the wheel has stopped. So obviously this window that I'm looking at is not really telling me anything that I want to see. So I can change my window. So what I can do is I can either put in exact values for the window, but I don't really know exactly where I want it to be. So instead what I can do is I can go over here to zoom, and then I can go down and I can zoom in different ways. The one that I want to do, I'm going to scroll down. I want to do zoom fit, because then this is going to give me what the calculator thinks is a really good picture of my graph. And then I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to change, and see the wheel is spinning, so it's trying to figure out the best fit for my graph. So now I see my intersection, and now I can see my exponential function as well. And we can see that at first my blue graph, which is my company A, is in fact greater than company B. Now I know where the intersection is because I already found it, but if you didn't, now what I want to do is I want to play around a little bit with my window. My y value, I don't need negative values, and I don't need any negative x values. So I'm going to go over here to my window. For my x min, I'm going to put just -1. That just gives me a little bit of a leeway in seeing where I'm at. It allows me to see the intersection. If you put your x min as 0, you won't see the y-intercept or the y-axis because it'll be the edge of the graph. For my x max, I'm going to put 30. And for my scale, I'm going to just leave it as 1. It doesn't really matter. And you'll notice, if you saw, the values at the bottom are going to automatically change based on the numbers I put in. I'm not going to mess with those at all. I'm just going to change my x min and my x max values. For my y min, again, I'm just going to put in -1 just so I can kind of see. And then my y max, I know I'm already starting at 100. So actually, I can even change this and have my y min be like 90. I'll still see that intersection of 100 for both of these, right? They both have the same intersection. And I don't really need to see what happens below that because it doesn't impact my data. For my y max, I want it to be higher than what I had seen before. So I'm just going to put in 1,000 and just see what happens. All right, then I'm going to go back and hit graph again. And you can see that my picture looks very different. I can still see both of my graphs, but I'm seeing a different portion of the graph. And here, I actually see that at a certain point, my B graph, my red graph, intersects with the blue one. And at that point, is if we remember from systems, right, that's our break-even point. That's where they have the same number of employees. And that's what I need to figure out, is I need to figure out what is that value. So now I'm going to calculate the intersection point. I'm going to do that by hitting the second button and the calc button because the calc is in blue, so I use second calc. And what do I want to know? I want to know where do they intersect. So I'm going to go down here to number 5 and then hit enter so I can select that. What's my first curve? The first curve should be the blue one. You'll notice it shows the equation at the top and the color. It shows a point. And then you hit enter to select it. Once I hit enter, you'll notice the cursor right now is currently on my linear function. When I hit enter, it moves to the other function. You can graph multiple lines, so you do want to make sure you're looking at the functions you want. So here I see my red function is my exponential function for this equation. Yes, I'm on the second curve. I'm going to hit enter again. And then it's going to say, do you want me to guess? And yes, I do want them to guess. So I hit enter one more time. And it gives me that intersection point. And we see that the intersection point is at x equals 21 and then this decimal, right? And we need to think then about what is happening in our functions, and x is representing months, right? So it takes the full 21 and a little bit of the 22nd, right? That's what that decimal means. So when we give our value, we need to include that portion of the 22nd month because we're already into it after the 21st month is done. So that's how you can graphically find that they do intersect, and at one point our B values will increase above our A values. You can choose whichever method you like, the graph method versus the table method, as you write your equations and determine this point where one will become greater than the other.